Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss a very interesting topic that deals with how to write a simple REST API client that basically interacts with a REST API server and also retrieves useful data. So I was thinking about that and also trying to find out what would be the best way to create an educational video that will also be useful in the real life. Well, after some thinking, I came up with the conclusion that maybe we will try to connect to a cryptocurrency exchange server and use their REST API calls to retrieve the data. That may be useful. So before we do that, let's discuss some basics. Okay, before I start, this is just a formal disclaimer that this is not a financial advice at all. This is just solely my humble opinion. Whatever I'm going to show you and whatever I'm going to discuss here, it is completely my opinion, not a financial advice. Okay, so let's get started. If you look at this chart here, this is basically a 5 years rundown of the crypto market and their assets. By the end of 2020, which is right about here, if you look at it, the market almost reached $500 billion. And then right now, this market has reached up to almost $2.8 trillion, like it was a week ago or so. So right now it's probably a little bit more than $2 trillion. So it is growing exponentially. So there's two things that can happen. Either this is a big bubble and it's going to burst, it's going to go way back down, or this is going to keep going up. So anyway, it's completely your choice. But if you are interested in investing in crypto, I would highly suggest to help me out here and use some of my links here. With each of my videos, you will see that there are some links to sign up for cryptocurrency exchanges like Coinbase or Crypto or Gemini or BlockFi. These are all exchanges that you can sign up, and it doesn't cost any money to sign up. If you sign up, you get money, I get free money. So that's all that there is. You don't really have to do anything. You can just sign up and then we can all get paid initially with certain amount. Some of these exchanges may require you to put some minimum amount of investment, and then you get this free money. But some of them are just, you can just sign up because of signing up you'll get the money. So anyway, it's your choice. If you have decided that you're going to sign up, again, I humbly request that you use one of these referral links. By that, you'll be able to make money. I'll be able to make money as well. Okay, now why I'm talking about the cryptocurrency exchange? Because the topic of discussion today will start there. So the very first thing we have to do is create a Coinbase Pro account. How do we do that? Okay, another disclaimer, I do not work for Coinbase. This is just for our programming purpose. You have to go through this exercise of creating a free account to Coinbase Pro in order to be able to use their API. Okay, so the very first step is going to this site right there, procoinbase.com, and get started and create your free account and then sign in. And by default, they'll probably ask you to turn on the two-factor authentication. I would suggest that you do so. That would be more secure. Okay, so after you sign up for the Coinbase Pro account, log in. After you successfully log in, your interface will look something like this. What you want to do is go to the top right corner, click on it, there will be a drop down menu, then click on the API. That's where you would go and create an API key. Once you click on that, you will get a screen like this. In that screen, of course, you would be clicking on the new API key button right there to create a new API key. Once you do that, then what happens is you would pop up something like this to add an API key. And you will always have a default portfolio, so you can just choose that, and you need to name whatever name you're going to give for your API key, because you get multiple API keys if you want, depending on what type of access you want to give that API key, whether to view certain things, transfer your fund, trade, and all that good stuff. And then you have to have a passphrase. Make sure that you remember this. This is very important. So this is where you put your secret passphrase, and then you would want to put the IP address where you would only want to have any kind of request from. So this is where you put your IP address so that no one else can just use even though they have your key, they won't have your IP address of the source, so they can't really do anything with your account. Now, how do you get your IP address? If you're not sure how to get it, the easiest way to do it is go to Google, type what's my IP. It will tell you exactly what your IP address is. So going back to there, that's how you get your IP address, and put that in there and go ahead and click on the create that API key. Once you do that, then what happens is you'll have a screen like this. You'll ask you to put the two-factor authentication, verification code. You put that, click on add API key. Once that happens, then, this is very important, you'll get a screen like this. Here it will give you the API secret, and it will be copy button. This is very important. This is the only time you'll be able to see this, and then it's going to be gone, completely gone. You can't get it again. So copy it, save it somewhere safe, don't give it to anyone, and this will be very useful when we actually write the program. Then click on done. Once you click done, you should come back to a screen like this, where it would show you that it created the API key for you, and this would show you IP address that is bound by, and then also the permissions that you have given. So you would need three things in order to be able to use this API key. The first thing is you're going to need the API key, which will be shown right here, some cryptic string, long string. Then you would be needing the password that you put right here, the passphrase, secret password. And the third thing that you would need is this big ugly API secret that it showed you, that you only had one chance to copy it. So three things you're going to need: API key, the passphrase, and the secret. So have those handy, then we'll talk about the next step. The next thing what we're going to do is there, if you look at it, there's this little link here that says, now please make sure that you have read the API doc. So that would be the next step. We're supposed to go read the doc. So once you click on that, what's supposed to happen is you end up in this page right here. That's the doc page. If you're interested to read all about this, the API, please go ahead, be my guest. But the real thing that you're going to need is this API reference right here. So if you click on it, it'll take you to this page right here. And here it will actually show you exactly what are the API URLs and somewhat how to call it. On the right side, yes, it kind of looks really cool that they give you all these different types of language, a little bit of code that how to call it. Good luck with that. It's not that useful because yes, you have the key, you have the passphrase, and then you may be able to get the timestamp, but then you can't really do sign thing right here because that sign thing, it involves a lot of mumbo jumbo of creating of certain hash and based on some timestamp, and it cannot be done through this. Probably if you're really patient and using a programming language and writing those steps and then getting the key and then putting it in and then run it, then it doesn't make sense to me. So to me, all of these interfaces and this nice little thing that they're telling you to go ahead and run it by putting this information is pretty much useless. That's just my humble opinion. You can't really use it because you can't really put the hash sign without writing in a programming language. So anyway, feel free to explore through this, be my guest, and see if you can do anything with it. But we're going to use the API URLs from here, definitely. The very first one that we're going to use is this, and that's probably the only one that we will start with. And then of course you could, once you know how to run and use this thing, you'll be able to use any other APIs, whether you wanted to convert something, you wanted to transfer something, look at the fees, orders, a bunch of other stuff. Okay, the very first thing you're going to do is whatever platform you're on. I'm on Windows right now, so I open the command prompt. If you're on Mac, open your terminal, or Linux, open a terminal. So go to your favorite directory. In my case, I go to CUT projects. That's where I would like to put all of my projects. And then just clone the code from the JIT. I'll put the JIT link on the description below and all the other useful references so that you can follow it easily. So go ahead, clone it, and hit enter. Once you do it, it's going to clone it. And I have already done it, so it's already there. So you can see it right here. It's going to create a directory called CB. So I'm going to go to that directory called CB. And then I'll have a whole bunch of files in there, as you can see. What's next? The next thing is, of course, I'm assuming you have the required software. If you don't, let me go through some of these things. The way I have this code laid out, I have the sample programs that you can run on C# or on Java or using JavaScript or using Python. So I have sample codes for each of these that you can run, and I'll show it to you, each one of them, how to run it. But in order to run each of these things, you have to have certain software. So let me just talk about it a little bit. The very first thing I would suggest is download the Visual Studio Code. That's probably the easiest tool if you wanted to deal with most of those languages. You want to run the JavaScript version, make sure you have Node. If you want to run the Python version, make sure you have Python. If you want to run the .NET, make sure you get the .NET 6.0 SDK. If you want to run the Java version, make sure you get the JDK, and also make sure you get the Maven. All of these links, it would be on the README file, and I'll also put them on the description below, so you'll be able to follow it fairly easily. Once you have all the software installed, then you could bring up the Visual Studio Code while you are on that CB directory. So I'm going to bring it up, and you'll see that of course there's C#, Java, JavaScript, Python, each of those codes there individually. So let's start with JavaScript, because that's probably the most popular one and probably easy to understand. So on the JavaScript, you will have a file called cb.js. So that's the only file that has the programming written on it. As I told you, you're going to need three things. One is your API secret, then your API key, and your passphrase. So each of these things goes in there. Just as a refresher, your secret is what you got from this screen, that you had to write it down and you only got it one time. Then your access key is what you see right here at the top, the big ugly string. And then your passphrase is basically what you used when you created the key. So this is that secret passphrase right here. So once you put all of those things correctly, then all you have to do to run it is go to the terminal at the bottom right there, or you can open a terminal window by clicking on Terminal, New Terminal, and then go to the appropriate directory. In this case, if you look at it, I'm on the CB directory. I need to go to the JavaScript. Go to the JavaScript directory, and then you just run node space vb.js. And once you run it, hit enter. You're probably going to see something like this. The error is basically saying that it doesn't find the modules. So the next step to do would be to say npm install. Shouldn't take that long. It installs it, and then you could run that script again. Okay, you should see an output like this. Now, in your case it may differ. All it's doing is it's going to that URL of the account, and it's getting all the list of accounts. Then it's finding out, okay, which account has more than zero balance, and it's just showing you all the cryptos for that account and the quantity of it. So that's all it's doing. But it is calling the API, and it is using the information that is actually in the exchange and showing it to you in real time. So that is basically the purpose of it. The exact same thing, you can call it from using different languages like Python or C# or Java. Let me show it to you as well. Okay, now to run Python, let's go to the Python mode. There's Python, expand that, go to cb.py. There's only one file. And again, you do the same thing. You could replace your API secret, your API key, and your API passphrase. Replace these three things, and then go ahead and run it. The way you would run it is, I'm in the JavaScript directory. I'm going to go back to CB and then go to the Python directory, and then just run Python cb.py, and it's going to run. Okay, you will see an output like this, similar output. You would basically get all the list of accounts that you have balanced more than zero. Now let's try the other two, C# and Java. We'll try the C# next. Okay, you would go to the C# directory, and you want to open the cbapplications.cs file. So there you will see similar code. You want to replace this API secret, your API key, and your the passphrase for the API. Then once you're done, let's go try to run it. I'm on the Python, so I'm going to do cd dot dot, go to the C# directory, and there, all you have to do is run .NET and run. Okay, you should see something like this. Again, same output, all the list of accounts that has a balance greater than 0 from your account. So let's do Java next. Okay, we'll collapse the C# and expand the Java, and expand the source, main, Java, and then this is the actual code, cd application.java. The other one is also the object that is actually just a dependent. So, okay. So same thing, you see there is a secret that you replace, API secret, then API key, and the passphrase. Once you replace that, then you can run it. So the way you're going to run it is come back here, cd dot dot, go to Java, create the screen, and then just run mvn space test. Okay, so once you run it, you would see something like this, right? So it actually uses Spring Boot, and then it just runs, and then at the end of the day, you see the exact same output, all the list of cryptos that has a balance greater than 0. Now let's talk about what is the code exactly doing. Okay, due to short of time, I'm only going to go over the JavaScript code. The rest of them, it's pretty much doing the exact same thing. Once you know the JavaScript and you understand how the flow is going, you'll be able to understand the rest of the code as well. So let's look at this. So the JavaScript, the very first thing is, of course, you declare all of these information. The other thing that we declare is API URL, right? The base URL is this. Of course, where did you get that? We got it from, if you recall, it's getting it from here. So as they said that this is the URL, and then in the URL, you call this accounts to get the list of accounts. So going back here, so this is your base URL, that's where you got it from, and I already mentioned about all of these three that you get it from your APIs. Then here you need to get the timestamp. That's pretty important because using the timestamp and using some of the other information, you have to create an unique signature before calling. That's what they validate and verify before giving you the data. So that's where the security comes in handy. The next thing it's saying is, okay, what type of REST API call it's going to be? Is it a get, post, put, or delete? So this is a get. Then what is the request path after that base API, which is going to be /accounts, as I just showed you. Then it requires you to create a message signature. So the message, basically what they're suggesting is you start with your timestamp, concatenate your type of HTTP call you're making, which is get, plus the request path. Now what we don't have is a body, because if you have a post, then there in that call you also have to add the body in there. But in this one we don't have a body, so that's fine. All we have is timestamp, HTTP get method, the get string, and then the request path. So you take that, and what you do is you have to use your secret, API secret, to sign it. So using the API secret, you sign it, you basically create a hash. But you create a hash based on their recommended algorithm. If you don't do it this way, it's not going to work. They'll keep telling you you're forbidden to access it. So what their algorithm basically says, you have to use a hash that is of base 64, and it is using exactly their cryptography, which is HMAC and SHA-256. Okay? So anyway, you can look it up. If you're more interested, just do a Google or just go to the JavaScript library site and you will see that what does this do. But basically this thing saying that, hey, give me a base 64 version of that API secret and put it in byte forms. It's like a byte array forms. If you want to know what base 64 is, again, feel free to do your research. You could go to this Wikipedia site that has a really nice information. What does that mean exactly? Okay, so coming back here, so it's making that your API secret to a byte array, to be exact. And then using the cryptography, HMAC and SHA-256 is using that as your seed. That's how I look at it. And preparing the hash that you're going to do. Now, what are we hashing? You are hashing that message that we just created. What is the message? The message is the timestamp, what type of call you're making, and what is the path exactly. So you are using this secret as a seed of base 64 to sign this message to come up with a hash, and that is your sign. If you recall, in the beginning of this video, I was telling you that they have this nice interface and they tell you to put a CBS access sign, but it's not pretty helpful because it's really useless, because you have to really come up with that exact hash programmatically. So that is that sign signature key right there. So once you have that, then it's fairly simple. Then you just create your API calls header. So in the header, you need to pass 4 things: your access key, which is nothing but your access key that you got from there, your passphrase, which is this passphrase right here, then the signature that we just created using all that mumbo jumbo of base 64 and HMAC, SHA-256 and hashing it and signing it. So that's that signature right there, that you have to create it dynamically. One of the reasons is because it also relies on the timestamp. As you could see, every time you run it, it creates the timestamp as of now in milliseconds literally. So it's not that you can just copy it and wait for 2 seconds and then go ahead and use the signature to run it. It will actually fail. So it has to be done in a program. So anyway, so you put that signature and then you also give them the timestamp that you're exactly using. Then once you have that, so this is kind of like constructing your header. That's the option, as you can see. And then we're using the fetch API to say, hey, I'm going to call my URL, which is that guy, and then say plus request path, which is that / account, because we're trying to get the list of account information. And then we're giving them to fetch all this information about the options, which is nothing but passing the custom headers and telling the fetch API that we're going to use a get method. Once that fetch happens, if everything goes successfully, you're good to go, then it goes here and then. If it's not successful, it's going to catch an error and it's going to dump the error on the console log. That's what you're going to see. But if it's successful, then what I'm saying is, hey, get me the response, turn it into JSON format, and then I'm going to do something with it. So what happens is, here you could actually just dump the entire JSON, but what happens is it will give you all the list of accounts there, whether it's you have any money on it or not. So it'll give you all zero balances as well. All the cryptocurrencies that they have in the exchange. So it's not pretty useful. So what I have done here is, okay, I'm going to get the list of accounts that is represented by this right here. This is basically a JSON output. And then I know, actually I have ran it multiple times, so I know exactly what would be the list of attributes that's going to be returned by this JSON. There will be like multiple things. One of the things would be balance, the other one would be currency. The currency is nothing but showing you exactly what that crypto is, and the balance is how much money, or like how much, not necessarily money, how much balance of that crypto you have. So after here what happens is it will give you literally an array of all the counts. So since you give an array, I am going through, this is kind of like a for loop, going through each of those accounts. For each of the accounts, that's what this is saying, I'm gonna check my balance. If my balance is greater than 0, if and only if that's the only time I'm going to show that currency and the balance. So that's pretty simple and straightforward, as you can see. That's how it goes and connects to the Coinbase exchange, gets my account, and shows me the list of cryptos that I have, and with the balance that is greater than 0, if that makes sense. So again, straightforward, but this is very powerful in the sense that you can now use this code to actually call anything else. Like you could get the list of orders or make orders, make a post call to do some trade. So you can kind of come up with your own crypto bot, if you will. with the smart logics. So exact same thing that you would see on all of the other code actually. I mean, the Python has a similar list of codes as well. The C# has similar, code flow, so as the Java. Now, of course, I wanted to use one single IDE, which is Visual Studio Code, which makes my life easy, and also for lack of a larger time frame, I have to use one IDE to kind of show you everything. But can you open these files on other IDE? Absolutely yes. Like I can show you, I can open like the Java using the Eclipse, and I can open the Python using like something like Spider. So absolutely that works fine. Just to show you, I have opened the Python code on the Spider, and I can run it from here as well, and it will absolutely work. And there's my Python console right there, and the output is going to come here. And then also the Java, I opened it in the Eclipse, and there's the code, as you can see. So that also works fine. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I will go through this one more time. If you are interested in crypto, I will really appreciate if you use one of my referral links to open an account. If you join it, it's free. You don't need anything to join. Just go ahead and register. You get free money. I get free money for all of these things. And maybe one of them, they may require you to invest some money, but I'm not sure if I forgot exactly. But I think most of it, if you just register it, you just can start with the free money as they give you. So that's all I have for today. Just to summarize the entire thing, what we discussed today is you're going to need to open a Coinbase account, Coinbase Pro account, and it's free. Okay. Then you create an API key, then you decide which way you want to go. If you want to go to the JavaScript route, then you follow this path. If you want to go to Python, you follow this path. If you want to go to the .NET route, you follow this path. If you want to go to Java, follow this path, right? For JavaScript, the first thing you want to do is install the Node.js, then make sure that it works. Then, of course, you need the Visual Studio Code to see the JavaScript code. And then you can check out the CB from the JIT, which all of these references and links I'll have in my description below in the YouTube video, and also it will be on the GitHub README page too. And then you basically run your code. Same thing, or if you will go to the Python route, then you install Python, verify that you get Python running, and then you just need to install some of the dependencies of Python with the pip install. What are the dependencies? The dependencies are something like you may have to install the requests, you have to install HMAC or Hashlight or something like base64 or the requests. So those things you can just do pip install, and then you should be good to go. Coming back to our chart, and then if you want to go to the .NET route, of course you install the .NET 6 SDK, verify it, and then go ahead, you can open the GitHub code using Visual Studio Code, and you can run it. And then if you want to go to the Java route, install the SDK, verify it, install your Maven, verify. Then of course you can open it up in Visual Studio Code again, and the code that we have on JIT, just go to the Java version and run the code. So this flowchart pretty much summarizes what you need to do based on the path that you choose. Okay, so that's all I have for today. If this education added any value to your skills, I would humbly suggest that you do look at my other videos on the channel and do subscribe, and also do click on the notification button so that you get to see all the new videos that I come with. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye now.